Right, morning, it's Fred. We're back on the George Elmy again. It's wrapping up day. We've got about 1.5 inches of snow outside. It's very, very cold, so we're just having to keep our lugs covered up and just try to be a little bit warmer. We've progressed very well with the canopy now. It's all cut to shape on the after end. We're busy waiting to do our outside edge trims and get our canopy put into position. The canopy has a moulding across the top that takes the windscreen in oak. Once we get that on, we'll get it moved across. But again, as any other job, we're getting coats of paint on it before we start putting other timber on top. So the top's now been filled in, dressed off, a couple of coats of stain and a coat of sand and seal, and then the first coat of varnish. It's looking very, very good. This is a sample of the canopy. This is a piece that's been cut away in way of the windscreen. You always have to build a bigger area than what you want and then cut it back so you know you get solid. But this shows you basically the construction of it. Again, we've got what layers of timbers on top of our ribs, the double thickness with the cloth in between. Everything's clenched through, and then we'll put our filler in and dress it over. When you put your filler in, the modern fillers, the chemical composite, they never change colour when you put your varnish over them, but the wood does change colour, so it's very difficult to get a perfect match to it. So we think we're getting pretty close, but on all of the other canopies that I've seen, they've all, you can see all the nails anyway. It's more or less a feature of the job. So anyway, that's had a sand and seal on, but if we move across to the front and you can see a finished job, we can see what it's like with the first coat of varnish. I don't know if you can see the shine we've got on that, but that's just the first coat. This is going to be sanded off again and another coat on, and then the portholes will be cutting them to the right size. They were left small deliberately in case the edges got a bit of damage when we had our cramps through all the time. But now we've got them to the right size, we can start fitting the ports on there. But we're going to fit the ports on the boat because we need to transfer this across one side of the workshop to the other side and down the floor level. So what we'll be doing is we'll be putting the strops through here, and that's our lifting points. Then it'll get moved across and then slide back and into position on the boat. It's still up here because with the engines being a little bit delayed, we've wanted to get as much work done to the engines as possible before we put the canopy on, and it gives you a bit more headroom and easy access to do the job. So anyway, that they're in. We'll just say we'll look at them in a minute. We have here some fittings. We was fortunate that we had one of these fittings, and they're getting another one made. When these are up and in position, they'll go on there, and then further along we'll have oak handrail that's bent to shape, which goes through that, and they'll set that off nice. So when you get the effect of your nice clean brass up against your varnished mahogany, it's going to look really nice. So that's going to be one of the next jobs to go on. Okay, right, so if we're adjourned downstairs and we'll have a look on board the vessel. We're downstairs here. Before we go on the boat, we're going to be having our dinner any second, but just to let you know little things that we have. This is our stove, and in our stove, when it's weather like this is our little treat. We do our baked potatoes on our stove, and they're very, very, very hot, but they're lovely. Too hot in fact, but this is a nice little warm your hands up before you get your dinner. But there's nothing better than I don't know if you can see the steam coming off that, but I'm going to have to put it down a second. There you are. So there's my dinner ready for us when I get started. So now we'll take you on the boat now. In our engine room, now we have all our engines. Both engines are now in, and we're getting the coolers for the top, we've been held up waiting of them. We're a bit late with one engine, then we had to wait for the coolers. Then we're getting some bits of seals for them. So now they are in and coupled up. Our water supply is completely coupled up on our engine now. So we just need to sort the fuel system out now. We've got a few ideas of how that's going to happen, so we will get it the next job before the lid goes on. Now here our heat exchangers, these are for the gearbox. So what we've had to do is we've replicated a new elbows in copper pipe to go from the end of the cooler run. It goes into the exhaust and then goes out the side of the boat. So we've tried our best to keep them with two engines, keeping everything duplicated, so it always looks better if the two are more uniform. There's a few alternators there on and connected up now, new belts. I've had to make some new adjusting brackets for them, but they're on. If your exhaust's all coupled up now, toolboxes in. If you change my camera angle a little bit, we might be able to point something else out there on the fronts of the engine. Down here we have our sea cocks. We're connected up from them now. This is our seawater, and we've come up here into a pump, out of the pump, and it goes through the heat exchanger on the top. Then it goes out the heat exchanger, across underneath the engine, and it comes up into the cooler that we've talked about for the gearbox. And then my freshwater system comes through here, through this enclosed freshwater. Again, we'll have brackets on here with pipe clamps, so everything is held nicely in place. And as again, we've tried to duplicate both brackets the same on both sides. On the back here, we'll have our grease pump that we had in before. That's connected up. We've now got our system in where we can pump down on one, and depending on how we do the valves, we'll feed both stern tubes. And above them, these are two little telltales, so the grease actually fills the whole tube up. There's a hole through the A-frame where the brackets are, and it transfers right through the leg of the A-frame, through a pipe, right back to the engine room. So when you're pumping your grease in here, you know when you get your grease coming out of this pipe here that it's right through the whole system. And it does also let a little bit of air escape as well. So that's nicely done. So that's basically bar fuel system. That's the engine room almost complete. Right. Well, we've had a bit more work done on the fore end here. The mast step is completely down now. Some cables are put in through the deck that's going to go onto a mast. One of the fuel filler fittings is for the old tanks. That's been fit in and fastened down. But up here, we've got a new bollard in, and our fittings are made for to hold it in place. These brass have all had to be hand shaped on there. Normally they're cast, but we haven't got any, so we've had to actually beat all them to shape with a hammer over a pipe. But we've managed to get them in nicely, and they're on. Nice big brass plate on the top. And then we've got a couple of cleats that have been fit on here as well. There's a bit of filler to go into them, and they are done. But that's changed the whole appearance of the front of the boat. It's a big, strong lumber oak on there. Behind it we'll have our fender, which is ready to be put on, but there's two bits of timber got to go onto the top of the fender rail before they go on. So they're ready for to be the next job on there. So that's the fore end, bar a couple of little fittings to go on here somewhere. That is the fore end, the finished look, and I think it's quite smart. I'm quite happy with that. It looks the part, especially the bollard. I think the bollard actually sets the job right off. A nice bit of timber. So all we've got to do now is there's some lockers to be constructed, one here and two aft. We have the handrail stanchions that were getting made. They're going there, what Ernie was busy with the last time. They're away at the galvanisers. They'll be back shortly. As soon as they're back, they can be screwed on, and then we can get the lengths of the chains and wires, and that'll put the top side on there. Then we're going to cut and prep the buoyancy boxes. So basically we've got 3 big lockers to make, canopy on, and then we're up and close. But our star man Ernie has evacuated ship, and he's decided to have a holiday in Australia where it's nice and warm, and he's just left us here in the cold. But he's going to be back in January, so I think we'll be hanging on for Ernie getting back, and hopefully he might bring with a couple of presents back. Just like to mention a funny little thing that happened. We mentioned it one time that a couple had come up from Devon way and they brought with a couple of tins of biscuits, for which we were extremely grateful, and we gave them a thank you. We've had several other people have come in and they all bring big tins of biscuits in for us now. We've set a trend, and we had somebody from Scotland came in the other day and they brought with a tin of biscuits again, another tin of biscuits. So we would just like to mention, you know, we're on a diet, right? We can't eat too many biscuits, but we do like scotch. If anybody's feeling really generous, a bottle of scotch, it'll help the biscuits down. So anyway, we are really grateful to everybody that comes in, and we've had quite a few people have come in on spec, and there's been a couple of donations towards the funds of the Heritage Trust as well, so things has gone well. Okay, thank you.